Welcome back to another evening of Scotch Hour. I am Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
All right. This is episode 88, and we're still grooving here. Hopefully everyone had a great week and you enjoyed this previous week, and you're looking forward to this evening's Scotch, which is Lagavulin, or what some people might say is Laga, the Offerman, which is the charred. Is it charred oak? Is that what it is?
Charred oak cask.
Nice. And from there, we are going to do our get-togethers and shout-outs. And the restaurant we went to this week is Old Blinking Light. Thank goodness there's no lights blinking right here. I might go into a seizure or something.
More scotch for me. What happened?
As I'm twitching, Jesse Pies poured something in my mouth here a little bit.
What do you think? Huh? It's good stuff.
All right, and then our Smarter Challenge is the best of Christopher Walken.
Scotch Reviewed.
All right, Lagavulin 11yr edition, charred oak cask, 11 years, 46% ABV. This is the third Offerman offering by Lagavulin, the previous ones being the Guinness Stout, the ex-Guinness Stout casks. And with this, they've done something very interesting. What they have done is they've taken ex-bourbon and ex-red wine casks and shaved the inside and then given them a really good char in order to give it some robust flavor. Should be pretty sensational. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, so you said the first two were both Guinness?
Yes, as far as I can tell, there was like the Guinness first edition, Guinness second edition, and then the charred oak.
Okay, all right. I thought I was missing that, so that's why when I was doing my research,
I from all the research I saw a first and a second, they both showed Guinness, so I'm assuming that's what it was. And I'm really sad that I don't have an extra bottle of that one because I really don't want to spend the $400 that they're going for right now.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
didn't you originally buy it for like 60 or 70 or something like that?
I actually did it at an auction.
Oh, okay.
And it was at Bevy's Liquor. They did an annual auction. The funds, the profits went to their local fundraiser, which for them, they donate a lot to the police and other first responders who have had terrible events happen in their life. And so it was very easy for me to pay way ridiculously more than that bottle was going for at the time. I paid $180. Probably should have been 80, but it felt like a noble and a right cause, something that was worth it, because I do really appreciate all the first responders and all the safety they bring for those in this world.
So the one that you auctioned for, was that first or second edition?
It was the second.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this, but like I guess in Nick Offerman says like there's that there's 7 kinds of foods.
I did not see that, but it sounds like something he would say.
And so apparently he said like the reason what inspired him for this particular type of Lagavulin here for the 11-year has to do with these 7 types of foods, and he said that some people might argue that there's more than 7 types of foods, but there's really only 7 types of foods, and so the 7 types of foods are bacon, eggs. I don't know what this one is. Pancetta.
Pancetta. Yeah.
Pancetta. Okay.
Yeah. It's another type of basically a pork product.
Okay. Scotch eggs. I never had Scotch eggs before. Fish and chips, beef and steak.
There you go.
And I guess in his little like write up about this, he said that it was done with American oak and European oak. Some of it's European Scotch oak, and some of it is European wine oak. But he didn't really specify. But maybe you found something a little bit different than what I found.
No, I think the point there, though, was that he wanted this, and when they partnered for this Scotch, one of the things was he wanted the perfect Scotch to go with a medium rare ribeye steak.
Well, there you go. Because he said like one of the best things you could ever do in life is put one of the seven
with another.
Put one of the 7 foods into a body.
There you go.
And so if you design this Scotch here to go with the steak, you're putting one of the 7 food groups into your body. And then that's supposed to help complement it, apparently.
All right. Well, we've talked briefly about Lagavulin in the past. We've had some of their scotches on previous shows. A couple other just basic details about this. Again, 46% ABV. Lagavulin established in 1816, so running a little over 2 centuries old, and much like many distilleries had some struggles with production in the 80s. There just wasn't a whole lot of demand. And then demand skyrocketed thereafter. And they have done a lot of things and made a lot of great scotches, well known, most known, I would say, for their 16-year variety. However, they also do the 16-year Distillers Edition. They have a 25, I believe it was a 35 and a 37 and some other rare ones out there. And if you look at the prices of some of those and what you'll pay for a dram, better bring your kids' life savings or your car to trade in on some of those more aged versions. But with this, there's some interesting facts about the Ardbeg Distillery. Again, 1815.
Did you say Ardbeg or do you mean?
Oh, sorry, Lagavulin.
I just want to make sure.
No. I was thinking because at the southern, there's over 100 little islands and islets along the coast of Scotland, and they're on the Atlantic side. This is the most south of the large islands. Because of that, it really benefits from some of the warmer air that comes around, and it is really nestled quite close to both Laphroaig and Ardbeg.
Okay.
And with that, they've got their own little water sources. The Solemn Locks is where Lagavulin gets their water from. Again, one of the things that's supposed to be great about this is the fact that on this island, and it's 1.8 million years old is the rock on the Atlantic side of this island where the water is constantly beating it up. That's before we had multicellular beings on this planet. That's how old this rock is. Some of the oldest rock on the surface of the earth. And with that, though, you've got a lot of interesting salt water that attaches to the surface of the island, and also makes the peat more briny. So one of the reasons that flavor, that brine flavor, comes through pretty strong in there.
I wonder, all these Scotch distilleries, they all talk about their water source. Mm-hmm. All I can think of is you have a bunch of Brad Pitts from the Snatch fighting each other out. They say this is my water source.
Probably. It's no joke. So Isla is home to less than 4,000 inhabitants, so not a ton of people, but it is a 2-hour ferry ride to the mainland. And apparently it is a treacherous ferry ride at times. You want to make sure you have a skilled and knowledgeable captain of your boat, because there are lots of signs along the coast that show where others may have not made it, where they have perished. But we were talking about some of that the Gulf Stream brings in some warmth, whereas the Highlands absolutely freeze during the winter months. Lagavulin, Isla, Laphroaig, Ardbeg, they benefit from the Gulf Stream bringing in a little bit of warmth into it. And so they're not saying it's the perfect place to be in the dead of winter, but it's far more comfortable than the Highlands. One other interesting fact, this is pretty astounding actually, it's only 22 miles north of Ireland. And because of that, they had a lot of history trafficking a lot of illegal scotches and alcohols during times when it was not legal, that came and went off of the island. So a lot of history there. Be a lot of fun to dig more into that one of these days. I do like the box.
I like the coloring. It almost reminds me. I think we were talking about this. Where it reminds me of like an artist. Do you remember what artist we said it was?
Yes, it was Van Gogh.
Okay.
Starry Nights. Oh man. So bottle, very typical Lagavulin. This one, however, does look a little less green in the glass than some of their 16s, but definitely has that color to it. A good foil. Offerman's face right on the front. I mean, well done, Offerman.
And he's the guy who was like on that TV show Community or something like that, or wasn't he
Parks
like
and Rec?
Parks and Rec, yeah. And he's the guy who was like the libertarian, right?
I mean, he was very outspoken and very offensive to most. Wooden top, I like that. Not always seeing the wooden tops on all of the nice scotches anymore.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. All right.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Off to our warp speed. Offerman. Wow. I like this Offerman. I think this will go very well with one of the 7 main food groups of steak being one of them. When I first start looking at this particular scotch, one of the main things we both noticed is that it is considerably lighter in color than last week's Ardbeg, which was another great scotch. Here in my notes, I put it is light to medium gold, and I think it's probably a little bit more on the medium side than the light side, but it's definitely, I think, in the darker part of the transition going into a dark gold color. Now, as I start to dive a little bit deeper into this scotch and stick my nose all the way up into that glass.
Stick your nose all the way in.
All the way in. I'm getting like hints of brine, definitely some berry notes in there. And the one word I put down to describe what I get off of the nose is that it's bright. And I mean, I don't know like how you can really describe an aroma as being bright, but that's what it reminds me of. It's like, it's not like overpowering with anything. It's just like really nice. It has nice, like a little bit of like maybe like a hint of floral in there, but I can't really place that. But also has some berry notes, like I said, and some brine, and there's like, there's obviously something else that's going in there. That we were trying to find out some other smell, other things that we're trying to pick up. Now, as I went into the palate, this is where I'm getting a little bit more characteristics of this of the scotch, and this is where I put in like hints of chocolate with vanilla, some mild peat, and then I put woody. But then right next to woody, I put a question mark, and I put sandalwood. And honestly, I think maybe that's also in the nose, that sandalwood. And then also there's like a slight hint of spice there. It's like a woody spice maybe. And as we go into the finish, when I first tasted this, the finish was a nice, earthy, wet leather finish that gave you that nice, also wet oak. So it was like wet leather and oak, maybe a little bit musky with that earth tones to it. And really what it kind of reminds me of is like that finish really reminds me of a really good, well-developed French red wine. And I think this is one of the reasons why I really enjoy this Scotch. And it's funny because like last week we had a really great Scotch from Ardbeg.
Phenomenal Scotch.
And I think because of this finish is more towards wine, and I'm more of a wine drinker, really. I really like the finish of this Offerman because it really reminds me of a really nice developed red wine, maybe from Bordeaux or something like that. And it just has that nice old world style of the moss, the peat, the muskiness, the wet leather, and then the oak. It's just like I love it. And I mean, if you can find this, and I think right now there's probably a good deal. I think when I was at Costco last week, I saw like they had like a bunch of them for like $69. I think is what it was.
69, dude.
69, dude. And honestly, I'd go, if I was you and you're watching this show and you made it this far, I would definitely advise you to go buy some.
Pause it. Hook it up to your car and listen to us on the way. Do not miss this Scotch.
This Scotch I think it's definitely worth it, especially if that's at the price point. Because I'm not sure what you said. I know you didn't go to Costco to pick it up, but I think you still found it for like around $89.
Exactly.
So if it's even at $89, I think this particular bottle is a steal. And I give it 2 thumbs up. Yes, I would take it to a poker night. Yes, I take it to a special event. Yes, I would hoard it for myself too. I would do all those things. Honestly, if it's going to be a poker night, there's got to be some close buddies.
Oh yeah.
And if it's an event, it's got to be a really nice event too. But most likely, I'm stealing this for myself. and then I'm going to share it. If I don't drink it all on my own, which I'd be dumb enough to do probably, and pass out and find myself like doing something stupid, like face first onto the floor. But I would definitely share this with a good friend who also enjoys Scotch. This is like a very good, quaffable Scotch. It has nice characteristics, and honestly, I think because they use those French or European barrels that had wine in them, I think you get. I think on the finish, that's what gives you that nice wine type of earthy finish to it, and I think it makes a great finish for this particular bottle. And it's nothing like what I would expect from a Lagavulin. I would expect a lot more of like a Band-Aid, heavy peat, heavy smoke type of smell to go with it, but it's not that way. It's a lot more elegant, I would say.
That is a great word for it. I think you're surprisingly in line with my mind being blown by this Lagavulin, because it is not at all what I expected. Because when I think Lagavulin, I always think your mom's wedding and us polishing off a bottle of a Lagavulin 16
next to a fire pit.
Next to a fire pit. So the smoke just made sense, right? The peat was prevalent, like it slapped. I guess the way I would think about this Scotch, how I would define this Scotch is, when I think of this Scotch, I'm thinking about going on a sexy vacation where there is mixed weather. I might be going to Boston, and one day I'm wearing my leather jacket and it's raining and it's a little chilly out. But as the mist is falling on my jacket, I get that wet leather smell, definitely in this Scotch. But I am absolutely dressed well, comfortable. And when I say well, I'm talking like nice leather jacket, nice shoes. You're not wearing your sweatpants, people. Do not drink this Scotch in sweatpants. Be sexy. Go on a sexy vacation. And then you're going to a fine Greek dinner. I'm talking, you're looking at history, Benjamin Franklin. This is literally a sophisticated, sexy Scotch to me. It literally makes me want to go on a vacation, predominantly to Scotland.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing here because you said don't wear your sweatpants.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking like some ugly ass dude wearing like these gray sweatpants with like fucking butt cracks, like
drinking a bottle of Lagavulin Offerman charred oak. Yeah, no, please don't. Please do not.
I went to like the worst possible image.
No, I think that's about the image that is as good as that image gets. This is fun. So the other flip side of this is the after dinner scotch, and I love the fact that the plan here was that this would go brilliantly with a ribeye medium rare, because I think if that medium rare ribeye is cooked perfectly, I have some ideas why this goes flawlessly with that's one of the 7 food groups. Okay, so as I said, man, you are dressed well, and then this is your after dinner scotch after that fine dining. Again, this is a sexy scotch to me. Color, simple, medium gold, not super dark, not light, lighter than I expected for it being super charred oak, 46% ABV, non-chill filtered. Love everything about that. Then you get to the nose. A little bit of that peaty Band-Aid smell I love, but not overpowering. Followed by a little bit of chocolate. You mentioned sandalwood. And I am going to throw in something else as we were going back and forth. What is that other smell? What is that other smell? What is that other smell? And I think what I finally came to was it reminded me of my childhood when I'm drinking cherry Kool-Aid. I think it is a hint. I think that berry on the nose is cherry. And again, wine lover, goes great with a steak. And there's also a hint of lavender on the nose for me. On the palate, it is all pleasure. It is pungent, but not overpowering. Again, the chocolate, another thing that goes great with red meat. People don't ever want to admit it, but it does. The sea salt then pops. And I know you're a fan of Oban in the brine, and that is where I think the body is just encumbered with this delicious salty feeling on my tongue, but it's also got, along with the chocolate, it's got vanilla and this creaminess that I wouldn't necessarily expect. And then there's the wood is oaks. It is multiple types of oak. And all of that follows into this warm, absolutely lingering, and not hot, by the way, not like alcohol hot, warm, lingering, woody finish. And then I get a little hint, just that little teeny hint of the berry again, that cherry flavor. And it's creamy. It's like a creamy chocolate cherry scotch at the end, but don't go thinking this is a dessert scotch. This is a very small hint, but I absolutely see why this could be paired, again, flawlessly with a medium rare ribeye.
I actually would have loved it with my meal tonight. I think it would have gotten great with my meal.
It for sure would have the bacon, another one of the food groups.
Right? Maybe I didn't have beef, but I did have bison. So I think the bison with the bacon, I think it would have gone well.
Again, with you, would I take this to a poker night? Absolutely, if they are worthy. Is this something I am keeping an extra one of on my shelf for a special event? Yes. Am I taking it to impress someone? Oh, yeah. If they are a connoisseur, they will absolutely enjoy this, especially if they are also a lover of wine and that brine.
It's time for our shout outs.
So my shout out is just to everyone who has already voted.
Oh man, you stole my shout out.
No way.
My shout out is voters. Shout out.
I was going to leave it till next and we have my shout out be to everyone who had voted, but I'm like, okay.
All right, I got a backup shout out.
But seriously, everyone who is either planning on voting, makes it to vote, or has already voted. I dropped my ballot off earlier today. I loved the security and the presence they're making to make sure there is less potential for tampering or fraud or any number of other things. I really enjoyed the setup. It wasn't just a drive-up ballot with the car in front of you dropping in 100 ballots. Like, hey, who are they voting for? A school? Oh, yeah, all those kids are 14. They're voting this year. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, that's not legal. So, but no, I love the presence. I love what Arapahoe County did here, making me feel that it was more secure. So, everyone who voted, cheers.
All right. Well, when this actually does drop and go live, everyone would have or should have voted. So for all the people who did vote or are able to vote legally, I'm going to say that was my part of my shout out, which was similar to yours. But my backup shout out is going to Elon Musk.
Oh, nice.
And really with Elon Musk, and my shout out here is for him taking over Twitter and actually being able to do some fact checking on some people who might otherwise wouldn't have been fact checked before he took over. For instance, maybe like one President Biden who had mentioned something about him being responsible for the most or the largest amount of like money or increase for Social Security, or how, gas prices have gone down. I think the way the White House or him had posted it, he got fact checked. And what happened with one of those fact checks ended up to where the White House pulled down the tweet altogether.
Interesting.
Is it this one? Nope.
That's Elon Musk.
Nope. That one. That's the White House and Biden. Elon.
Tonight, that's my Lagavulin.
Right?
Magic.
All right. How about some get it together? Is any get it together?
I just got one get it together, and it just goes out to anyone who hasn't just taken a conscious moment and considered what must really be going on in this world right now, where we have Russia invading Ukraine, but we still are living in the dark ages compared to everything we saw every day during the Gulf War. So there's obviously something bigger going on, whatever that may be. I have ideas. I can't say them, except maybe on Twitter.
I think you can say it on the Rumble.
Yeah, but just get it together and take a conscious moment and really think about what is going on. Why have we given over $40 billion in aid to this country when our own country has so many opportunities that $40 billion could have gone to? Like, maybe that could have paid off some of that student debt.
Maybe. All right, might get it together. Weird bodily functions.
Uh-oh.
Like, this not occurred.
Is this the sweatpant guy again?
No.
Bent over with his bottle of Lagavulin. Why is it green?
When you get like, you're like, probably like you're talking to someone sometimes or whatever, and also your body, you're like, oh, sorry about that. Or, sometimes, you might think you're going to, like let it loose like a silent but deadly fart, but it all of a sudden turns into a shart. Or,
never trust a fart.
Or, like sometimes where you feel like you have to go to the restroom and you think it's going to be some epic shit. And all you do is go fart the whole time. And so I just wanted to give get it together to weird bodily functions.
It's a good one. Yeah.
It's real. People have weird bodily functions happen all the time.
You looked for it afterwards, and apparently it was nothing.
All right, so this evening we went to Old Blinking Light. And want me to start, or you want to go?
Go for it.
All right, so pulling up to Old Blinking Light here in Highlands Ranch area. It's actually around. It's like in a fairly. It looks like a nice area or a little like strip mall area, and there's a lot of restaurants right there. Nothing on the outside really jumps out to me with this particular restaurant. But when you first walk in, the foyer area is really, I actually kind of liked it, like with the little circular seat thing there for where people could wait. And then off to the right of there is you see the bar area, and the bar area looked really, really nice. As you walk into the restaurant area, I did like the decor of it. I thought it wasn't like a 5-star type of decor, but it wasn't like Taco Bell or something like that either. It was, I think it was pleasant enough to sit there and know that you're like in a fairly nice restaurant, but not like a overly expensive restaurant. And the one part I think that may have been, it doesn't really bother me too much, but I think it might have, I know you mentioned it, but I don't really want to steal your thunder on it. So
man, you can go for it.
is that the ceiling is more that the old industrial type of thing, like where I think it was like kind of really big in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where they had the industrial type of stuff up there for the ceiling where you could see all like the ventilation and all that stuff. And I'm not sure if I'm like a really big fan of that either. I think like when restaurants and bars first started doing that, I thought it was kind of cool, but now I'm kind of over that. And, but it did have like a nice warm feeling in there. It looked like the one thing I'll say that they did really, really well is their food presentation. Their food presentation, everything that we got, was presented really, really well. And you don't really see that too often in a lot of restaurants anymore. Or maybe if you go to a lot more fine dining that you will. But for this price range, it doesn't really seem like you see it as often. Our appetizer, the Diablo eggs, which Jesse said, deviled eggs. And I'm like, it's Diablo eggs. And I'm like, oh, duh. That means devil eggs. I hear the presentation. I love the presentation of how they had it set up. Where you had the egg, it had the normal filling in it, and then it had like the bacon sticking out of it with some like lettuce and stuff on the plate. And honestly, it didn't come out the way I expected it would come out. And I honestly expected more out of the flavor. So this was not a total win, but the presentation was really nice. So as far as the appetizer goes, I probably would skip it if it wasn't happy hour. But happy hour price was only like $6, so it wasn't like it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't all that great either. I was expecting it to be a little bit spicier. I thought they were going to be like, I thought the Hatch green chili peppers and the jalapenos would be a little bit more prevalent in there. But it really wasn't. But my meal, on the other hand, wow. I got the bacon wrapped bison meatloaf with mashed potatoes and fresh vegetables or steamed veggies, and that was excellent. When I got a piece of the meatloaf that had a little bit of the bacon, on there, the flavor, bacon and the mushroom, and if I put a little bit of like the mashed potatoes all together on it, which normally I don't like to do. I like to eat like my food separately, one item at a time. But when this was all mixed together, it tasted great. But if I got a piece of the meatloaf where there wasn't any bacon attached to it, then I was like, it was lacking a little bit of flavor. But really, you needed, anytime you took a bite, if you got a piece of the bacon at the bare minimum that was wrapped around it, it made for an excellent, it was excellent. It tasted excellently, excellent. Tasted great. Excellently. Or excellent. Tripping up on my words there. Any case, I really liked it. And so, as far as the food goes, I'm going to give it a 9. I was that impressed with the place. I thought the food tasted great. Great presentation. Even though I wasn't super excited about the appetizer, I'm still giving it a 9, mostly because my main dish was great, I thought. The service, I'm going to give that a 6. I thought our waiter was, I think he left us wanting. He wasn't very prompt, and I didn't really get the idea that he knew what he was talking about when it came to the menu. The ambiance or the restaurant inside, I'm gonna give that like a 7. And so I think the 9 and the 6 kind of cancel each other out and kind of pushes about a 7.5 total for it. Would I take a first date there? Yes, I would. Would I meet friends there? It depends. Like, if I'm just going to be like just chopping it up with friends and, like if I want to watch a game or something with them, no, I probably wouldn't go there. If we're going to, if I'm meeting a friend for like, maybe like talking like a business meeting or, we're meeting up for some, something that's just like, not game watching or something like that. Just maybe catch up on, some time and stuff. Sure, I would meet a friend there.
Well, for me, the old blinking light. So Highlands Ranch, Colorado, just, a couple blocks really south of 470 on Lucent, and then 2 blocks east on Highlands Ranch Parkway. With you, I'm right there on the outside, not impressed. The outside was nothing spectacular to look at, partially because they have those vinyl, I'm guessing, sheets of plastic so they can keep the outdoor seating a little warmer. Not sexy, but that's not what we were there for. We were there for the whole package. So as we walked in, I agree. The entrance, the bar area, that looked fun. We did not sit there. We sat in the regular restaurant, which was also okay. The service, as you mentioned, I'm right there with you. The service was a 6 only because of the stall at the beginning of the evening. The food, the deviled eggs, the only thing I can think of is they probably prepare these in advance. And maybe ours have been sitting out for a little while because much like yourself, it tasted straight like a deviled egg to me. But it was, listed as having jalapeno and green chili. And I was excited for those flavors. I just didn't get them. But what I did get was a really good deviled egg with a masterfully cooked piece of bacon on the top. So no complaints, just not great. Now, that then transcended into the dinner. And the dinner was fantastic. Green chili chicken fettuccine. And the portion size was appropriate, was not massive. Finished the whole thing, no problem. And part of that was because it was that damn good. The chicken was grilled to perfection, tender, but still had that flavor from the grill that you get with the grill marks. And the green chili, the creamy green chili sauce on the fettuccine, the spinach fettuccine, perfect. I was utterly impressed. Don't know what else to say with you. I gotta say the food for me was also a 9. The dinner, the deviled eggs, again, no complaint. I just had higher expectations, but my dinner was a home run. Would I take a date there? You mentioned the environment, and I didn't care for the giant 12-foot, rotating aluminum fan up top. It might have been 10 feet. I might be exaggerating. Men often do, right? This giant fan rotating above your head. I wasn't crazy above that, but the rest of it, the environment was good. Would I take a date there if she loves good food and it's one of those dishes we tried? Absolutely. It was comical. Our waiter, Nick, when asked what he recommended on the menu, literally listed off everything but the 2 dishes we got. And then we hit home runs. The environment inside, again, probably right around that 7 mark. Going there with friends, I'm kind of like, thinking about the same thing with you. If I'm going there to eat a great meal at a reasonable price, value-wise, I thought the meal was value. I don't know again, for food, yes. Would I take a date there again for the food? Absolutely. But if I'm just going to chill, that's a good way to put it. This would not be my destination just to have a couple drinks and go catch up with a buddy. There are other places right next door, as a matter of fact, that would be better for that, especially if you're watching part of a game or hanging out and you want a little bit noisier attitude. A little bit noisier area. But this place was definitely family friendly. And that was actually surprising. There's a number of families in there. Not cheap. Average dish, I would say, was $20.
Yeah, about $20 a plate.
Not cheap, but definitely delicious. So kudos to that. Total overall score is an 8. Again, the only thing that brought it down was the environment of the main restaurant to me. But I think the way you mentioned that really made me think it is a destination for a date and great food, not necessarily a destination just for two friends to catch up and eat a couple appies.
All right. Well, if you are in the area of Highlands Ranch, definitely I would say check that place out. It has great food. Let them know you heard about them from Scotch Hour. Not that they're going to give you a discount or anything. They probably won't even know who we are. But yeah, just let them know. And we'd greatly appreciate that as well.
Christopher Walken and our favorite roles that he has played, the best of Christopher Walken as it might be. I think it's only fair, much as we did last week, to give a little bit of history about this great actor before we jump right into, these were my 3 favorite roles that he played. With that, Mr. Christopher Walken, also known as birth name Ronald Walken, born March 31st, 1943 in New York City. So far from young at this point, but definitely well accomplished. His biggest award that I have seen, really, I don't know if it's the one he's most proud of, but it was his Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in The Deer Hunter, 1978.
Oh, I thought you got it with Catch Me If You Can.
He was nominated for a second one with that, but did not get it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I know. That's another great movie. But he, again, all these different roles, tons, like 48, I think, total award nominations. Has won a total of around 20. Tons of nominations. Does a great job. With that, he did meet his wife in 1963, Georgia Thon. I hope I'm pronouncing that somewhat. Georgianne Thon is what she changed her name to, not her birth name, because that was the name of the aunt that raised her. So in respect, took that name. He met her on the set of West Side Story. Again, 1963. They were married 1969, have been married ever since. So we're talking about over 50 years at this point.
You don't really hear that too much.
Dude, that's impressive as hell.
Couples. Yeah. Because Hollywood couples, right? They last like 3 years, maybe.
I think it's like 5, 7, 12, and then all of a sudden you're like definitely out. You got the Demi Moore, Bruce Willis situation at 12 years or 10 years. Like, it's tragic. It is absolutely tragic. But these guys have been married for over 50 years. That's amazing. That's magical. Cheers and congratulations. Yeah, absolutely.
Golden anniversary, right? 50 years.
There you go. Almost to that platinum 60. But he started very young, again, New York City, right around the age of 10, and met Jerry Lewis and did some little bit parts for the Colgate Comedy Hour. He got paid nothing, just did the roles, but enjoyed them and really started some of his vast career. And I think something that's very important is he is a perfect prime example of, man, all life throws you some weird curveballs. Strange stuff does happen.
Like being a lion tamer.
Yeah. And or being on a boat where a lady drowned, any number of things. But he has also taken it in stride and is very respectful to those around him. What do you want to throw in there?
Well, I think part of that whole being respectful is that he grew up in the Bronx, right? If I remember correctly. So that's New York, Bronx, 1940s. So you still had a lot of the that kind of like older tradition values there. So I think, him being part of like seeing or being there where Natalie Wood passed away, I think that gives that kind of respect to why he wouldn't say or doesn't really like to talk about that. What I did put in here or in my notes here is that he got the name Christopher for when he was working at a nightclub, and his boss, who's Monique Von Voren, I think is her name. She would change. He was like a part of a 3-man dancing group, and she would change their names all the time. And then she's the one who came up with Christopher. That's how it landed with him, and it just stuck from that point on. Also, when he was younger, at age 16, he did become a lion tamer or apprentice to lion taming at the local circus there. And in 2008, he had a website there called Walken2008.com because he had considered running for president. And honestly, I think he might have done a better job than Obama, but I don't know. I'm not a big Obama fan, but I probably would have liked that. He's also a huge fan of Elvis Presley, so he did write and star in a play that he wrote. So he wrote a play about Elvis and he starred in it. So I think that's pretty cool as well.
That play was called Him.
Him.
And
then I thought this would be really this would have been interesting. This other one here, but he was the runner up, I guess, to be Han Solo. He was George Lucas's second choice to be Han Solo. Could you imagine what Christopher Walken as Han Solo in Star Wars? How much different that would have been?
Yeah, it would have been a lot different.
I mean, Harrison Ford, I thought he did a great job as Han Solo, but Christopher Walken as Han Solo, mind equals blown right there. That'd just be so weird.
It would be different because now you would have a character that was just immediately more intelligent. Right? This guy always plays a role where he is wise beyond his years, and he's not young anymore. And still he plays currently in roles, and again, wise beyond his years. And it's amazing. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too. And then I guess his breakout role came in, was it Annie Hall? That was what's that guy's name? He's like a pedophile. Woody something or other.
I don't think you can say that, man.
I can't?
No. Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Yes, 1977's Annie Hall. Yeah.
Well, I said it, so it's there. I think we'll be okay. Hey, I didn't mention anything about some election fraud or anything, so we should be good.
Until now.
All right. So those are the other little tidbits I found about him.
The other things I really appreciated about some of his younger years, he did play the star roles on stage for Shakespeare's Hamlet, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, as well as Coriolanus or Coriolanus. Well, one of those two. The biggest tragedy, I think, in his life that you mentioned he does not like to talk about is he was on the 60-foot yacht Splendor when Natalie Woods apparently met her demise. To this day, I think it's still in question. I don't know if they ever fully closed the case because her husband, the heart-to-heart actor Robert Wagner, was on the ship, and again, husband, and the ship's captain Dennis Davern, both interviewed by the police on multiple occasions. Christopher Walken is quoted when he did his last interview on the subject with People. He said, "I don't know what happened. She slipped and fell in the water. I was in bed then. It was a terrible thing. Look, we're in a conversation I won't have. It's a fucking bore." And he does not talk about it. And anyone who even tries to talk about it with him, he just walks away from. And I think that, again, that's part of this interesting respect of, hey, I don't have answers. I'm not going to make accusations. I was asleep. And nobody wants to be part of that. The interesting part that's kind of tragic beyond all is that the captain, Davern, is reported saying that Natalie Woods was actually flirting with Christopher Walken. That's when her husband, Robert Wagner, got outraged, and who knows what happened after that. But man, Christopher Walken is a fun guy. Who wouldn't flirt with him? I'd be flirting with him if I was on a yacht with him. I'm like, hey, come on, you want some Lagavulin? You're one of the few friends we'll share this with. Come on, tell me something I need to know.
He does seem like he would be a good person to know, or maybe, he definitely would be a person I'd love to go like have dinner with, or be able to sit down and just ask questions, or just get to know the guy. I think he seems like a good character. I could be totally wrong. Maybe he's not, but he seems like he'd be a really fun person, or a good guy to like hang out for a night with.
Super lighthearted, ironically, and I say this truly ironically, he reminds me a lot about my father, just like easygoing, cool. My dad did not have the same life because my dad had children. Christopher Walken did not have children, and he actually accredits his success largely to that fact, where he has a couple of cats, or he's had a cat. He's had a cat in the past. He's had some cats. He had no kids, and that enabled him to free up a lot of his time, because it's the truth. You have kids, and if you're a good parent, and I think he's a good man, so he's going to give kids an equitable amount of attention. It does take away from other things you can do.
I don't doubt that. I don't know. I'm not a dad, so I can't say.
Not that he knows.
All right. Any other facts you got? I don't have anything else to add there.
No, that's it. Besides his got to be one of the world's longest and largest careers and number of movies, TV shows, specials he's been on. Quite a life.
Yes.
All right. Going from 3 to 1. If you look at his different roles, which is your third favorite role that he has been portrayed in or played in?
Third favorite role that he has played in. I'm going to go with Last Man Standing.
Ooh.
Being kind of like the main bad gunman there, going up against Bruce Willis. I don't know. I like the whole motif of that movie, where it's kind of done in like the Roaring 20s bootlegging time, in a border town where they're trying to bring in the liquor, and Bruce Willis comes in as kind of like the nomad gunslinger, and Christopher Walken being like the main kind of like everyone's scared of bad guy. As far as like, he's not like the boss, right? But he's like the boss's right hand man, the enforcer guy. And I think it's a really fun movie, and I think he does a really good job with his character. And I like that movie a lot.
All right, for me, it's actually really hard, because there's like 100.
It was super hard. I have like a list of like 10 of them here. I'm like, I gotta pick 3. Okay.
There's so many honorable mentions, and I think for me, the tough one is trying to decide between Pulp Fiction for number 3.
He did an awesome job.
Or True Romance. And ultimately, dude, his role in True Romance was great, but ultimately, I go Pulp Fiction, because that is the guy that I think of when I think of Christopher Walken, someone who has lived through it in this, in his role there. He survived the war and brought Bruce Willis's character's father's watch to him and saved it, protected it in the most interesting of ways. I held this watch up my keister for 5 years while they tortured me. It's about the only safe place, I imagine.
His role there is like super small too.
But everyone knows it.
Yeah.
It's so impactful. Played it perfectly. So, but again, true romance, that's where he's more of the brutal mobster, so to speak.
Right.
But still, he's just like looking around when they're talking to Brad Pitt, and these other guys like, is this guy for real? Is this guy for real? It's great. All right, your number 2.
All right, my number 2. Once again, these are all very hard because like there are some other like there are other movies that he's been in that I think he might have maybe done better than the ones that I've chosen here. And I think the way I went is like ones where he had a little bit more exposure in than like some like these smaller roles. So my number 2 is going to be Suicide Kings.
All right.
And he's kind of like he's not the main character, but he's really prevalent in there, being the mobster boss that they kidnap and stuff like that. And how he like interacts with like these like college kids who kidnapped him to try to get like money and stuff like that. I think he did an excellent job doing that. And he does a really great job of being like a mob boss.
Really good job. All right, my number 2, and he plays both the good guy and the villain so well, goes to 1985's James Bond, A View to a Kill.
Oh, yes.
In here with Grace Jones as his sidekick. She's like 2 feet taller than he is, but with Grace Jones as his sidekick, he does a fantastic job playing the Bond villain. And again... he just does it well. I think he just really, it's almost like he's a Nick Cage, but older, wiser, and more of a badass. Just does it well.
And my number 1 here, I'm assuming you're done with that part, right? My number 1 is Prophecy.
Okay, I love The Prophecy.
Yeah, The Prophecy. I think he plays Gabriel, right? The Archangel Gabriel. Mm-hmm. And I love the way he talks about like the humans being monkeys and all that stuff. I think the way he does the character is just, it's good. And it's almost believable. Like if you were to think of like, if an archangel were to become jealous of man, he plays that character pretty well. I mean, and I'm not sure how many people have actually like really seen that movie or really know about it. It seems like it's kind of like more of like an off the wall type movie, or maybe like one that people may not really pay attention to. But I think it's one that people really should see.
At least his role.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so it was so hard. Again, as we jump through all these different movies, some of my favorites, honorable mentions, like you gotta like, it stands out, right? In 2000. April of 2000, Saturday Night Live, more cowbell. Ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding,
Well,
ding, ding,
that's
ding.
the thing. I had that as one of my honorable mentions. I didn't mention any of my honorable mentions yet, but that more cowbell. I mean, honestly, if I was going to choose like whether it's a small bit or big bit, that probably would be my number 1. That's such a great little skit.
It is, but also like it's tough because you have Wedding Crashers.
Yep.
He plays
Honorable
the dad.
mention.
Dude, it's so wild. So 2005, Wedding Crashers. For me, it was your number 2. It's my number 1, Suicide Kings. He plays Charlie Bennett. And he just, again, plays it all so well. But it's, I think when you think of the different roles we have mentioned, so you've got The Prophecy, Gabriel. We've got Charlie Bennett, Suicide Kings. We've got Pulp Fiction, Wedding Crashers, all of these roles he plays, and he has a point where what I see almost every time is you are a Shakespeare actor with everything you do. You share wisdom, you're learning and teaching at the same time, you're contemplating, you have a depth of character that most people cannot even amount to in life, let alone you are showing that on a big screen, given an instant, not an hour. These other actors can't do what he does in a 2 to 5 minute role in most movies. They can't do in the full hour and a half they might be be in it. And with that, I think in Suicide Kings at the very beginning, before he gets kidnapped, the way he strolls in, he's cordial. He comes in, the kids are sitting at his table. I say they're kids, they're college students. So the men are sitting at his table. He's cool about it. He gets his drink, and then he's going to take them to dinner. Like, what? Like, cool guy, right? Further along, they cut off his finger, and he's sitting there, and he's like, "Give me a drink." Another thing he always does well, he dresses well.
Yep.
Again, he shows this depth that most people can't, and I really appreciate that about you, Sir Christopher Walken. Another one of these invitations where, should you by ever in the slightest chance see this show and want to stop by Denver, Colorado, let us buy you a drink and a meal, or just a meal, and share a little bit of your time and wisdom with us. We would greatly appreciate it.
Definitely. Another one of my favorite movies that is an honorable mention here is Joe Dirt. His character.
Oh
Joe
my
Dirt,
goodness,
where
yes.
he's the mob guy, the mob character who is under witness protection as a janitor. I think that his part in there is hilarious. Another one is Man on Fire.
That's really good.
Yeah. And I had Pulp Fiction in there as well. There's, those are some of like my favorite ones, and I definitely love the whole cowbell one.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
You know what we need? We need more cowbell.
And again, and then when you learn what cowbell means. Interestingly enough, not to undermine his potentially greatest role, the one that won him an Academy Award from the research I did anyway, the 1978
Deer Hunter,
the Deer Hunter, Vietnam War, a version of this war, which was very real, I think, painful in ways to watch, to think about. Man, these people are really going to just play like Russian roulette and not worry about life because they don't think there's any chance. The different things that this movie shows as far as the terrible atrocities our soldiers went through, and then they come back to our country, a whole different story. Now we're getting into Rambo, and they are treated like dirt. Like most of them didn't want to go. These people were drafted, and then you're going to get upset. Like, they didn't ask for that.
right?
So, again, Christopher Walken, long-standing career. I hope it continues to be long and ageless. So.
I concur with all of that. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add there. He's a fabulous actor, and I really greatly appreciate everything you've done, and you sharing your art with us. That's fantastic.
The last thing I do have to mention, and it's also if you read a little bit more about him, he never got into sports. It was acting for him, so he never played basketball or baseball. Never learned how to swim. But he can tap dance. And another one of his great roles is in the Fat Boy Slim music video, where he's just dancing.
That is another great one.
That warms my heart. Watching that literally warms my heart. I just want everyone, at least at moments in their life, to be as happy and fluid as he looks in that video. It just makes me happy.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
That's it.
Okay. So next week, the Scotch is, and I don't have it here, but it's going to be the next one in the Kirkland line, which is the Kirkland Isla from Costco. We'll give that one a try. And the Smarter Challenge. I was struggling here with the Smarter Challenge, but I think where I've landed here is for us to watch the movie yesterday.
All right.
And then kind of just like talk about like what we thought about the movie yesterday, and if something were to happen. Do you know anything about the movie?
I do not.
Okay, so real briefly, yesterday is this guy. He's a musician, and he gets hit, or like I don't know, like the whole world blacks out. And when the whole world blacks out and comes back online, I guess if you will, nobody knows who the Beatles are. And he is the only person who knows like any of the Beatles songs. and he ends up becoming like super famous from the Beatles, playing the Beatles songs. So I think it'd be kind of interesting to kind of discuss like the movie itself, but then like what would it be if something like maybe as significant as the Beatles or Google or something like that didn't exist, and you were the last person on Earth that did know about it, and how what would you do? Would you like take advantage of that knowledge and try and become wealthy off of it, or would you share it with the people? So we could talk about that next week. I think it's a really fun movie to watch. Hopefully you'll like it. Hopefully those of you out there who have seen it like it or haven't seen it, hopefully you'll watch it and comment about the movie as well with us. With that, thank you everyone who watches us on YouTube and Rumble. If you're looking for episode 80, that's still not on YouTube yet. If you're looking at episode 87, you'll notice that 87 is censored for a portion of it, but you can find the full version on Rumble. For everyone who listens to us on any of the other audio formats, thank you for listening to us. We greatly appreciate the last 2 months. You guys have been great and made it record months for us. And if you do want to become a patron member and you like what we do, just take the first link down in the description and you can become a patron member there. And any money that you do donate to us, we do utilize to put back into our show. And with that, thank you once again, everybody. And I'll pass it along to you.
Feedback. Precious feedback. Please give it. We do use it. Would like to receive more of it. Also, if you haven't seen Black Adam, go see it.
It's a good movie.
I thought it was a great movie. Not everyone's going to like it. It's not necessarily the happy-go-lucky superhero who does no harm. This guy is willing to do whatever it takes. So with that, again, please give us feedback. Like, share, subscribe. Life is great. Drink responsibly. And Scotchman! Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a patron member with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.